In my future, I'm twice as likely to have a stroke.
I'm at higher risk for depression.
I'm 26% more likely to develop an irregular heartbeat.
I have a 65% higher chance of developing diabetes.
No matter who we are,
these diseases can be managed or prevented when caught early on.
Because with better research,
the right medicine,
and with doctors who help keep me healthy to begin with,
we will thrive.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, you're tuned into the Lion's Den, official source of UCCS Sports. We're going to spend our first major segment here recapping the UCCS men's basketball weekend as they were on the road playing Western State and Colorado Mesa, splitting on the weekend as they defeat Western State 91-89. And I think we had some predictions last week about a shootout there in that men's game, and certainly that held to be true because that 91-89 definitely is a shootout. In that game, it was Elijah Ross with a team-high 16 points and 7 rebounds for the Mountain Lions, a near double-double for Elijah Ross. Justin Smith added 13 points and Blend Avdili with 14 points, so a great, well-rounded approach for the Mountain Lions to get that win. Charlie, you were there calling the action. Tell us all about that game. Kind of recap obviously we won in a high-scoring affair. A good game for UCCS. What really was it? I mean, we can read some stats and some numbers, but watching the game live, calling the action, what was it that UCCS was able to do to edge out that victory against the Mountaineers?
Well, honestly, it's a little bit of a tale of two halves. It seemed like in the first half for the Mountain Lions, they weren't having the best shooting night. A little bit of foul trouble, and just came out a little slow. And we've seen that before with the Mountain Lions, and head coach Jeff Culver really has tried to do a lot for that. But the second half, it was the Elijah Ross and Justin Smith show. Justin Smith threw down about 3 dunks and one in a half-court setting where Elijah Ross just threw it up to him. Talked to Elijah after and talked about that play, and he was just like, it was a bad pass. It hit the backboard. It was about to hit the backboard, and Justin just grabbed it, dunked it, made it look good. But it just changed the tempo, the momentum, and it seems like the Mountain Lions ran a lot more in that second half.
Yeah, he's definitely a player that can change the game with one play. You throw down a fierce dunk like that at home, especially, and you get the crowd all energized and into it. Now, we know we were away. How did the crowd play a factor in that game on the road, Spencer?
You know, it was huge. I mean, being able to even see how many people showed up at the Western State game was incredible. I mean, small town, everyone's coming to see. A lot of just old people coming to see the game, more than students, mostly. Very nice, though. I mean, the one thing I could say I like, but I didn't like about it, was the fact that we were able to go into a place and put up a great game. It was great to watch. It was fairly matched. However, we're playing Western State with a record of 3-9. So the fact that we were matched up and it was that close of a game against a 3-9 team isn't what I like to see. But I did like to see a great game of basketball, and that's what we saw. Very evenly throughout, won by 3 points. Down to the cookie cutter at the end, and we got the win. But it was a good game to watch.
A W is a W, and we'll take that. We need all the W's we can get.
I'll take them all.
That's right. As we kind of head towards the final playoff push, still got quite a few games left, but everybody's kind of vying for seeding at the moment. Every game extremely important in terms of those standings. UCCS, as you can see there, still on the outside looking in terms of that standing. But remember, Westminster is not going to be eligible for the playoffs. So if the season ended today, UCCS would take that final 8th spot, but certainly on the bubble right now. Every single game is important. Going into Saturday night, they played a tougher Colorado Mesa team and unfortunately couldn't get the W there in Grand Junction, losing 80-75. But how about Elijah Ross again that night? 18 points and 5 assists. I mean, he is on the verge of a double-double, putting up double figures, scoring consistently, and Blend Avdili adding 16 points for the Mountain Lions. So a good game for them individually. Charlie, in terms of the game as a whole, what was it that the Mavericks were able to do to clinch that game in the end?
Yeah, you know, it just seemed like for the Mavericks, they came off a really close one before that, playing MSU Denver, and this Amir Lopez, he had the game winner against MSU Denver. It was 89-87, had to go back as MSU Denver had a chance. They had to go to the replay system, counted it, no good. So Amir Lopez was on fire from that game coming in. That was a tough one for the Mountain Lions. And it just seemed like that first half, Mountain Lions, again, a tough, first half. Really couldn't get it going. Had a little bit of that slow, and we'll see here. But, I honestly got to give it to Blend Avdili, and I think you called it last show, MJ.
A special blend.
Blend Avdili really had a great weekend. He had 11 points in that first game and then 16 points in that second game. So he really was a key factor. Also, just Mountain Lions had a tough one. Still came back a couple of key possessions. Mountain Lions tied it up, but then it just was so loud in that gym. Colorado Mesa, you got to give them a little bit of credit. Their crowd just came out as it was their first games back from the break. So, it was a lot of atmosphere. It felt like a playoff game. And then also Dalton Walker, that first half, he had 3 of 3 from the first half, 9 points, and he just really caught fire. And that's really what helped the Mountain Lions also.
Well, just briefly taking a look at these highlights here, it looks like UCCS having a great game from beyond the arc, and a few solid plays inside in the post there. See some of the big guys getting involved there. Who's that? Ian McDonald down low right now. So Mountain Lions doing a little bit of everything, just couldn't on the defensive end close out.
It was a little bit tougher, and also for Colorado Mesa, just not a good matchup. They play a lot smaller, and Mountain Lions play a lot bigger with Justin Smith and Ian McDonald starting. So Mountain Lions really had to adjust that. One time was running a 4-1, 4 guards, and 1 big. So I think it was a little bit of an adjustment and a little bit of a learning moment for the Mountain Lions.
Well, that certainly was a big matchup for the Mavericks, who are also vying for a playoff spot right now as well. So they need every win they can get. So I'm sure we saw the very best of Colorado Mesa this weekend. Right. Spencer, what's your take on that game? Blend Avdili, Elijah Ross, solid performances from the youngsters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's great for the foundation of the team.
Right.
Now, in terms of that final stretch, Spencer, who'd you see that is really that go-to, or who do you think is going to kind of emerge as that go-to here in the final stretch?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to show it. Is Blend and Elijah. In this weekend, we were able to see what they were able to do. I'm going to play a devil's advocate, though, and this is kind of a weird way to look at the weekend. I'd make the highlight tapes. It was very difficult to make highlight tapes this weekend because a lot of our points came off free throws. So making the highlight tapes, I'm usually 2-3 minutes. I've got enough highlights to make a minute highlight film, which shows me that we weren't throwing down all those big plays. We weren't able to hit our percentage of shooting the way we were used to. And that's kind of just a realization to me that we're still developing. So if there's any positive to take from it, it's going to be the idea that there's still more places to go. We're not even close to maxing out at potential. I don't think that they're dying from fatigue or anything. This was just a bad couple weekends here, and I'm not sure what the mix was, if it was the travel, because it was a long trip.
Sure.
With definitely they left straight from Western straight to Mesa, and it was a late night for them. But not the exact same play that we usually see. Kind of slower, a lot of fouls, not usually what we're seeing. A lot of free throws on those points, which you don't necessarily see from seeing the highlight films. But when you look at it and break it down, we definitely should be hitting way better than we do. And I think that's what we need to focus on for Metro, is we need to get our shooting percentage way up.
Sounds like what I'm hearing from you, too, is a level of energy there. Energy plays.
Agreed.
Nobody gets excited seeing a free throw go down.
Correct.
It's an important point. You need all the points you can
Absolutely.
get. But nobody gets really pumped up for a free throw. You
100%.
get pumped up for a slam dunk.
Exactly.
Or an alley-oop. Or a big steal. Or a big defensive block. Or something like that.
And without those plays, there's no way to really get the crowd, the team kickstarted. So when you're just going through and you have free throws every minute, there's no way to even get a run going or get anybody hyped because it's just a mellowed out game.
Sure. So it's good making some of those free throws, but got to start bringing
some intensity.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. We know Mac Buckley was down there calling some of the action as well. Mac, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, MJ, I can hear you loud and clear, sir. And just kind of, heard a lot about that conversation. Is it okay if I add on to that a little bit?
Please do, Mac. Let's get your insight as well.
So, kind of wanted to harp a little bit about that Western State game. Charlie and I calling that in, talking with Jared Werner, who also made the trip with us. We kind of broke it down, and there was a foul nearly every offensive possession. So about every 30 seconds, if you want to kind of average that out. There was a ton of fouls to start that first half, and it really changed up the pace of the game. There was a ton of free throws there being shot that night. 29 personal fouls total for Mountain Lions, 28 for the Mountaineers. So know that both teams were going at it back and forth. Very physical game at that. And so talking about the next night, at Colorado Mesa, another really intense matchup. And then talk about like how Spencer mentioned the crowd. The home crowd really brought it from the Mavericks. And I felt that played a very good advantage for the Mavericks as they took that into that really helped them bring home the victory, I feel like, at home.
Well, definitely the energy is going to be a little bit more on our side next time that we're in action, because it'll be here at the Galilee Event Center. Big takeaway, Mac, on the weekend for the men's team. We're going to come back to you next segment to get your thoughts on the women's team as well, but kind of overall big picture this weekend for the men's basketball team.
Overall, big picture, MJ, I'd say, Mountain Line, they, really emerged. I felt like at the end of that Mesa game, it was unfortunate, bad bounce for them. They weren't able to, have the results they wanted to on it. But just talking overall, they were neck and neck with Mesa. They really stuck with them just really the entire game. And they, have come back from a lot. I think overall, men, key takeaway is that they can play with anybody in the RMAC, and they can win any game too. They just really have to, play lights out for the entire game and start on their toes and not their heels, as they struggled in that Saturday night's matchup with Colorado Mesa.
That's a great take, Mac. I agree 100%. We're going to come back to you here on the other side of our commercial break, as we will be recapping the UCCS women's basketball games, as they were also in action against Western State and Colorado Mesa. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will recap both of those games right here on the Lions Den.
All the care your family needs, all connected for you.